Good afternoon to my home care heroes. So, today we are going to be talking about the components of DHEC. What do we need to pass our site visit? What needs to go into the employee folders? What needs to go into our administrative folders? And what are they going to be looking for? So, let's go right into it. We're going to be going over, like I said, the administrative requirements and employee folders. As you all know, I am religious about my DHEC book, aka my DHEC Bible. This is a readily made book that I hand DHEC when they come for my site visits. This book reduces the amount of time that I'm looking for these things. This reduces the amount of copies they have to make, ultimately reducing the amount of time they spend in my office. So I suggest you all will make extra copies of these things, place them in a book, put them in tabs so that when they're asking for it, you can go right to it. The more prepared you are, the easier that your site visit will be. So in your DHEC book, you're going to need a copy of the current regulation. For non-home care providers, we are Regulation 61-122. You're going to also need a copy of your current DHEC license. Make sure it is the current one. Make sure it has not expired. They're not going to give you time to print things and put them in your folder. So if it's not there, you can be given a citation for it. It can be somewhere in the office, but if it's not where it's supposed to be, you can be given a citation. You're going to need a copy of your recent inspections and investigation. Recent inspections include all of your site visits, anytime that they have came to your office, and any plan of corrections you have created, or any site visits that they have came. Even if you pass with flying colors, you need to print out that site visit and place it in your folder. Any investigations, if you had any accidents, incidents that you had to report to DHEC, SLED, or any other outside agency, you will need a copy of that in your folder. Also included needs to be a copy of your liability insurance, and DHEC needs to also be a certificate holder. DHEC needs to be listed at the bottom of your policy. Workers' compensation policy. Again, if you do not have 4 or more employees, the state of South Carolina does not require you to have workers' compensation. You need to simply print out the statute and have it available. We're going to also have our annual TB risk assessment. Although we are not required to have TB tests as providers, we must keep up with the risk assessment in the county. I'm going to minimize my screen to show you exactly what that is. You can go to DHEC's website and type in the search bar TB risk assessment. This is what the form will look like. Part A is going to ask you the number of TB cases identified in your facility. If you had nobody with cases, no cases in the last 12 months. Number of TB cases identified in the county. Number of TB cases identified in South Carolina. It says facility on here, but it is for in-home providers as well, because this is typically used in the nursing home facilities. So you're going to go through, complete all of these things, place it in your folder. Now, to find this information, it is also located on DHEC's website. I went to TB data and statistics, scrolled all the way down, South Carolina TB incident rates by county. Because I am in Richland County, and as you see up here, it has the incidents by each year. Because I am in Richland County, I'm simply going to go here, slide over, and see that we had 5 or more cases. At the bottom, it shows the total for the state, which is 67, and the national total. Simply go, place those numbers here and here. All right, so jumping back into our slideshow. Your policy and procedures. Keep in mind, we are talking about DHEC. We are not talking about Medicaid. Although some of the policies and requirements cross with each other, some of them don't. DHEC is only going to ask you for your drug test policy. Your drug test policy must address random drug testing. So even if you're going to do in-house testing, it needs to say that we will be testing in-house by drug test kits purchased from wherever. It must describe the random drug testing and describe the procedure chosen. At minimum, a 5 panel will be utilized: cannabis, cocaine, amphetamines, opioids, and phencycline. I always get this wrong, so don't laugh at me. But whatever drug test that you choose, if you order them off of Amazon like I did, just make sure that all of these, the 5 types are included. You can choose to do your drug tests in-house or send them to an outside agency. Your policy needs to say, hey, we're going to send our employees to LabCorp. We're going to send them to Quest Diagnostics, or it's going to be performed in-house by the administrator or the RN. Whatever procedure you're going to use, it gives you the option to do what is best and convenient for your agency. You just need to let them know. They're also going to ask you for the accident and incidents reporting form. So in the case that you have an accident or incident, what form are you going to use? My suggestion is to use the DHEC form. It's something they have already created, although it is mainly for a nursing home or CRCF. It still contains all the components that they are going to ask for. So instead of me creating a form, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to go with what is there. Your administrator requirements. The provider must be accessible in person, by phone, or page during the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. What that means is somebody needs to be in your office at all times between those hours. They are allowed to pop up at any given time, and I promise you, I have seen in nursing homes they have come at 4:55. But it's their right, and you cannot leave until they have everything that they have. You will be given a citation if you are not present in your office. In the nursing home world, we were told we got a 2-hour window to get back to the facility. That does not mean everybody will give you that. So I would just suggest, if you step out of your office, make sure somebody is there. I know you may say, hey, what are we going to do about lunch? You may want to eat the lunch in your office. Or go within like 15 minutes. So God forbid they do pop up and you're not there. Hey, I had to run an errand. I'm right back. Your license shall be posted in a conspicuous place in a public area of your office. Anybody that walks into your office should be able to point out your DHEC license and any other licenses that you have. It should be posted in a place that everybody can see. It must be visible. You should also have your South Carolina Labor Board posters. I have the minimum wage poster posted in a folder I found from Amazon that includes everything. It has the LLR, employee rights, and etc. That way I didn't have 4 or 5 posters on my wall. So you can just simply go to Amazon, Google SC Labor Boards, and purchase one. I think it's about $22. So that's that. Report serious incidents, death within writing within 3 days of occurrence. So on the previous slide, we said use the DHEC form for accident and incidents. If any of the following happen in your as in your agency, you have 3 days to create, fill out the accident incident form and turn it into DHEC. A serious incident is considered falls or trauma resulting in fractures of major limbs or joints. If a client commits suicide, criminal events or assaults against a client, anything that you have to call the police for, it needs to be on the incident form. Allegations of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. If your caregiver is accused of abusing your client by someone in the family, public, or whatever, you should immediately create a accident incident form and turn it into DHEC. You also will create your internal investigation, but they will do an investigation as well. So, staff requirements. In your employee folders, you will need to have a pre-employment background check. All employees, before they touch a client, before they go across that threshold, they must have a pre-employment background check. This must be conducted. South Carolina residents for a year or more must submit to a SLED background check. SLED background checks are $26 after taxes. Taxes and fees, I guess to say. If they have not been, if they are a non-South Carolina resident less than 1 year, they will have to submit to a nationwide fingerprint scan through the company Identico. If Identico is not in your area, you will need to contact Ms. Sasha Greer. And then I'll plug the number in also for you guys. So make sure everybody, I promise you, make sure everybody gets their SLED check. They must have passed a random drug testing, so make sure you have whatever template or forms you're going to use for your drug test in their folder. Their job description. Job description of the duties that they must fulfill should be included. A valid driver's license, their driving record, and proof of insurance if they're going to be providing transportation. Driving records are like $5. On their records, they must not have any prior convictions of theft, abuse, neglect, or exploitation of children or vulnerable adults, or no crimes related to drugs within the last 10 years of providing care. Remember, we are talking about DHEC, not Medicaid. There's a little different. And make sure they have a pre-employment health assessment. You can go online and find a pre-employment health assessment, and just make sure they check off. It can say they're able to live, they don't have any communicable diseases, they are able to live, stand, stoop up to 100 pounds, or whatever criteria you want to use. Have your administrator or your nurse sign off on it. The regulation does not say it had to be by a licensed healthcare professional, so we do have some wiggle room with that. The last thing we're going to go over is the employee training. Employee training must be signed and dated by both the individual providing the training and the person receiving the training. If it's going to be some online training, a teacher signature is not required. So if you're using YouTubes and things like that, or we were using Allison courses at one time, and there were computer generated things that we would get certificates from, the nurse doesn't have to sign off on those things. Again, the employee training is different from Medicaid. DHEC does not say that it has to be by RN. So just keep that in mind. But to keep it seamless, I will let the nurse sign off on it just in case. DHEC requires them to have this training: basic first aid, medication assistance, specific care training, documentation and record keeping, ethics and interpersonal skills, proper lifting and transferring techniques, and infection control. And I will also, under my infection control, I will just make sure we have a COVID policy. Infection control includes hand washing, bloodborne pathogens, and what to do with coming in contact with bodily fluids and things of that nature. So you guys, that concludes our DHEC training. I am going to show you the DHEC form. This is a DHEC accident and incidents form. So just take a second to look over this. This is the form number. So if you type in the form number up here, it will just pull up on DHEC's website. You'll also see where you need to send the form once it is completed. So I hope this helped you guys. Of course, you know I am always available if you need any help. And just thank you guys for all the hard work and effort you are putting in to keep our South Carolina residents safe and able to age in place.